Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. So this video is going to be a review of the trailer that dropped today for Joker. You guys know I love the Joker. You guys know I also really love Batman, and I'm able to review this trailer because Zazie Beetz and Brian Tyree Henry are in it, which means it will have at least two black characters. I don't know if they'll be black main characters, but they were in the trailer. But them having Zazie Beetz and Brian Tyree Henry, who are both mains from Atlanta, makes it even more egregious that they didn't cast the Keith Stanfield who wanted it so bad. But having said that, I think Joaquin looks great. Every time I read this man's name, I want to say Joaquin. I know his name is not pronounced Joaquin, but it's like a little pull. I just want to be like Joaquin. But Joaquin looks really, really great. It's been described by the director as a tragedy. And there's also some lines in the trailer that allude to it being a tragedy. And it really does look fucking tragic. Like, it hit me right in the feels. I feel like, a lot of people are saying, like, why are they doing so many Joker interpretations or whatever? But I personally feel like the Joker is a character that doesn't have any one origin story. And that's part of the beauty of the character, is that you can kind of make it into whatever you want. So it's been, what, three years since Suicide Squad, but like Suicide Squad came out in 2016, and it had been what year did Dark Knight come out? Let me look it up. I want to say 2008. Let me look it up. Yeah, The Dark Knight did come out in 2008. So it's sort of like we had 8 years in between Heath Ledger's interpretation of Joker and then Jared Leto's interpretation of Joker in Suicide Squad. And now we've had like another 3 years in between that. I feel like it's, well, and we've also had the interpretation that we see on Gotham, which is Jeremiah Valeska. So I've seen people say like we have too many like multiple interpretations of Joker. But for one thing, the television, like the DC television universe, which is like the I don't even know if Gotham is a part of the Arrowverse, but like the Arrowverse, which is like Arrow and the Flash and Supergirl, and I'm just gonna say Gotham, even though I'm not even 100% sure that Gotham is a part of the Arrowverse. You can let me know. They've said repeatedly that like that is not a part of like what they're doing with the movies, and also the director has also said repeatedly, and like DC and Warner Brothers have said repeatedly, that these standalone films that they're doing, I believe they're also doing one on Young Batman as well as this one on Joker, are also not a part of the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, which I'm going to get to a little bit later on in this video. So you kind of have a lot of different sorts of interpretations that are existing all at one time, and there's not this like extreme push to link them all together, which is totally fine with me. Again, I'm gonna get to that a little bit later in this review. I just want to say that again, like there's no canon really, like there's no canon storyline. Every writer in the comics has done something different more or less, and they've stuck to that with the film and the television adaptations as well. Again, you have Gotham, which is on right now with Jerome and Jeremiah Valeska. There's the Jack Napier interpretation. There's the old Adam West interpretation. Well, Adam West wasn't the Joker, but like there's the old Batman interpretation. There's the Mark Hamill interpretation. There's the Jack Nicholson interpretation. The Jared, again, like we've always had so. And then just if you in the comics, there's so many. Just last year they had was it last year? They had the game come out where they were like samurai. Like there's no canon. Like there's canon for whatever storyline I guess you choose to read or watch or follow. But there's no canon storyline. And so this interpretation that we're introduced to in the trailer is named Arthur, and it's really a hyper-realistic portrayal of a somewhat sympathetic figure that is tormented and sort of twisted. Let me not say sympathetic, empathetic, an empathetic figure that is sort of tormented and twisted into the Joker. In the trailer, we see him experiencing trauma. And something that I've always loved about Batman as well as Joker is their duality. Because, like, Batman is fucking disturbed, right? I always say this. Like, Batman is a grown-ass man that dresses up as a bat to fight crime. It's a lot, right? Like, it's a lot. And this is a direct result of trauma. The trauma of him witnessing his parents' murder and then him falling into the well with the bats where he's not rescued for hours. So Batman suffered this trauma that kind of turned him into this vigilante. He could have very easily swung the other way and became a villain. And I loved Heath Ledger's portrayal of Joker. That's my favorite Joker. To this day, I feel like The Dark Knight is the best comic book movie of all time. Sorry, not sorry. That's just my opinion. And the reason why I loved Heath Ledger's portrayal of Joker in Nolan's Batman is that he puts people in these moral dilemmas. He puts the citizens of Gotham in these moral dilemmas. He puts Batman in these moral dilemmas. He puts Commissioner Gordon in these moral dilemmas where he has to like go along with like letting his family think he's dead. Like, is that appropriate? Like, he puts Harvey Dent in these moral dilemmas. He puts people in these dilemmas that force them to choose between this sense of vigilante justice, right, that they're all participating in by working with Batman. And he forces them to choose between vigilantism and villainism, right? Because his whole purpose is to show that, like, there's, like, where's the line, right? Like, we have these ideas of lines, but, like, where are they? The scene with the boats, and he has like prisoners in one boat and he has like citizens in another boat, and he's like, I put bombs in both of your boats and you guys have these fucking buttons to push that you can blow each other up, and if you don't do it, I'm gonna blow up both of the boats by a certain time. And we see them having these discussions of like, well, they're prisoners, they're in jail, they already broke the law, like we should just kill them. Or like, well, we're prisoners, like they put us in the jail, we don't really give a fuck about them, kill them, you know, like these are like serious kind of moral conundrums, and it's a more ambiguous moral ground, which I think makes for a better film, right? So I was very excited to see the direction that it looks like they're pushing the film from this trailer. Since this is just I should have said this earlier probably, since this is just a trailer review, it's not going to be in good, the bad, and the ugly format, because it was only like 2 minutes and 24 seconds. It's just going to be like quick analysis of what I saw. This Joker origin story is also highly influenced, clearly, by The Killing Joke, which was a 1988 comic that also portrayed the Joker as a tragic character, as a family man that sort of descends into becoming this villain that we all know. And in the clip, we see a little bit of Arthur, of his home life. We see that he's taking care of an elderly mother that appears to be infirm. We see that he's struggling with his mental health. We see him dressed up as a clown, working on the street as like one of, you know, those people that are on the street with like the signs. And we see him get attacked by like a street gang. We see, you know, like we see, even in just this little 2-second clip, we see a lot of what could possibly lead to the Joker that, you know, we know in its various, you know, sort of incarnation. Is that the word? Incarnation? Let me make sure that's the right word. Yes, that's the word. Incarnation. And we can see that he's portrayed as a tragic character, right? And there's a line in the trailer that says, I used to think my life was a tragedy, now I think it's a comedy, which I also think playing around with concepts of tragedy and comedy as dual concepts, right, as flip sides of the same coin, is really a foundation of cinema. You have to laugh to keep from crying type of thing. You always see like the universal symbol of cinema is like the two masks, the laughing and the sad, the crying. So I thought that was really interesting. It looked very dark, very serious. The cinematography, you guys know I love my cinematography. The cinematography was really clear, very sharp. It's set in 80s New York. But it didn't look like overly stylized 80s. It didn't look cheesy. It had a similar color palette from what I saw thus far to some of even the early DCEU films, and even some of Nolan's work, like a lot of like sort of greens and a lot of blues, which I, again, personally enjoy that type of like more cool tone color palette. I think it's more serious. As I've spoken on before, a lot of superhero movies, Marvel, tend to skew towards reds and yellows and oranges, really just sort of like bright, flashy, in your face, because of just the tone that they're trying to set. So I thought that the tone for this movie looked very serious. It looked very dark. It looked very gritty. It looked hyper realistic, which again, the director has said that this is his take on, again, what would it be like in real life, in the real world, for someone to become the Joker? What would that look like? What would it take? What possibly kinds of trauma might that entail, and wanting to sort of move around and explore that in their own way, in their own sort of interpretation. And I think it looks really, really exciting. I keep looking. I have sitting next to my computer on my desk my Joker car, which is what I keep looking at. So I was really pleased with what I saw. Extremely pleased with what I saw. We saw Arkham. I said set in 80s New York, didn't I? Gotham. New York is Gotham. Like, New York is Gotham. I have New York and Gotham just like synonymous in my mind. People always call New York Gotham. I call New York Gotham all the time. But 80s Gotham. And so even though it's obviously 80s New York, quote unquote, we see some recognizable landmarks such as Arkham. I don't believe it said Arkham Asylum. I think it said hospital. Again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but we definitely saw some recognizable stuff there. We see Joker in his red Joker nose pulling on the face of a young boy. People are theorizing that that's Bruce Wayne. I don't want to get into too many theories because like all these theories and like spoilers, that's like the new jam. Like what people like to do when trailers come out and stuff like that is to like get together and come up with these theories and try to like spoil the whole movie for each other and for themselves, and then go to the movie and like see if they're right type shit. Like I figured out the whole thing, like not necessarily for like the movie going experience or to like experience the story, but to try to like figure out the whole thing in advance. And I also feel like a lot of the times the studios are catering to that with these like extended trailer. Oh my God, the Pet Cemetery trailer that just motherfucking showed the whole movie, showed everything. I'm probably not going to be watching any more Joker trailers outside of this one. I'm not going to be reading anything about it. I'm not going to be looking at anything because I don't want any spoilers before I go watch this movie. I don't even want to see any fan theories that might be true before I go watch this movie. But people are already theorizing that the young kid that we see him approach this child over a hedge, and he has this red clown nose on, and he like pulls his like, you know, like makes him smile, and people are saying that that's like a young Bruce Wayne. So we'll have to see. I think that people are theorizing that because Warner Brothers did also say that in line of this sort of series of origin stories that they're doing, they did say they're going to do one of young Batman as well. So we'll see how that goes. And I want to say that in terms of like the series of standalone films that they're making outside of the DCEU, they've said that these films will like deliberately be serious, that they'll be sort of grittier, darker in tone, hyper realistic. And I think that's cool. I think that's a good idea to make these movies, just like how, again, they're doing their TV universe and stuff like that are not part of the DCEU canon. I think that with these projects, these standalone projects, they're just sort of letting the directors and the screenwriters kind of do whatever they want. And I think the point of the standalones is to allow the directors creative control, which they would not give to Zack Snyder, without being boxed in by having to play by the rules of an extended universe. Like they crushed Snyder. They crushed Man of Steel. You guys know I'm always complaining about this because I love that movie. They crushed Snyder for having a vision that ultimately didn't resonate with the larger universe, DC extended universe that fans wanted. So hopefully they learn from that. And again, it seems to me that the point of these standalone films and just the point of the overall direction, again, people are complaining like, why do we have a TV version of Joker that's not the same as the DCEU version of Joker that's not the same as now we're having this origin story? Again, it seems to me the point is to make the extended universe more lighthearted, right? Because like that's what people want. That's what people have decided they want. Like they want the Marvel, like they want the Marvel standard. Like that's what people have decided they're into, right? So I think they're going to make the extended universe more lighthearted. Shazam! Lighthearted. Even these like Birds of Prey trailers that they released have been very lighthearted. All the stills have been very like glitter and sparkles, and that's fine. And bright colors, whatever. Aquaman, which was like really like, oh, jokey joke, wink wink, nudge nudge, ha, you know, which I didn't like. I didn't like Aquaman. I didn't like Wonder Woman. I didn't like the direction that the DCEU is going in, but people loved Aquaman. The early reviews of Shazam are really strong, so people like their extended universe more lighthearted. So I think they want to go in the direction of like giving people that want that with the extended universe, here, have it. And for those of us that want the more darker tones, they're going to keep these standalone films, you know, again, more gritty, more dark, more serious, more hyper-realistic, more experimental. This film looked very experimental. It looked like, a serious film, which I think that it's interesting because we had sort of these, like, cheesy B-movie era of comic book movies, which I love. I love a B-movie. I love Batman and Robin and rubber nipples. You know, hey, who doesn't love it? And then we have this kind of pendulum swing into X-Men, X2, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Nolan's Batman films, and then we kind of like, and then Iron Man, like the phase 1 stuff of MCU, and then we kind of like swung it back to like the more cheesy, the more lighthearted, the CGI, the jokes, shit blowing up, whack ass plots, like stuff like that. And now I think that people are kind of wanting different types of comic book movies again, especially because like right now the market is so saturated. Like people love Logan, you know, for example. So I think that this is a smart move by DC to sort of like split up the factions of their fandom in a way. And I appreciate that this looks more sort of serious and experimental, like Nolan's Batman films and the early films of the DCEU. And the way that those early DCEU films were received so poorly versus the way Wonder Woman was received. Wonder Woman had a lot of humor. The way Aquaman was received, again, the way Shazam was received. People want lots of special effects. They want lots of CGI fights. They want things blowing up. They want bright colors. They want corny ass humor. Like they want a bubbly, you know, like that's how I felt watching even like the little snippets of the Birds of Prey. It was like very bubbly looking to me. So if they're essentially going to split their films into standalones for fans of the darker stuff, and then the extended U for fans that want, you know, DC by way of the Marvel formula, I honestly think that might be a good strategy. And then you have your TV stuff separate for your people that are fans of the Arrowverse. They've now introduced Doom Patrol, which is on the DC streaming service. Instead of trying to mash everything together for fans that do not all feel the same, I think it's a really interesting strategy to sort of split things up to keep the Marvel fans and critics happy, you know, to give them what they want with the DCEU, to keep fans like myself that want the darker stuff happy, to keep the fans that want some, like I kind of feel like shit like Arrow and the Flash and stuff like that is like somewhere in the middle to keep them happy. Like DC is still doing really interesting stuff on TV. I have not seen Doom Patrol, but I really want to start watching it. I know people are really liking Teen Titans, you know. And the TV shows are still fun, but they skew quite dark from what I've seen. So we shall see. I'm actually really curious to see how this film is going to pan out and how this strategy is going to continue. But I'm interested. I'm super interested. I'm super duper interested. So we'll see how it goes. As you guys know, in 2017, I dressed up as Joker for Halloween. I filmed a video on that. I'll include that in the description box. I reviewed Wonder Woman. I reviewed Aquaman. I reviewed Suicide Squad. Oh, and I reviewed Justice League. So I'll include all those in the description box as well. So let me know what you guys think. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.